Hi guys, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Joselyn.
And today what we're going to be talking about is trusting God in tough times. Now, as we all know, excuse us if we're looking down, we kind of just have like a layout on like the things that we know that we want to talk about. That's why we're looking down. But yes, as we all know, life has its up and down, right? Nothing goes as planned, and sometimes what you have, for yourself doesn't always pan out.
I just closed the door. So I know we're going to share our personal testimonies on how we trusted God, and this is something that a lot of us can relate to because a lot of us are experiencing fear and anxiety right now with this pandemic that's going on. So as we share our testimonies, we hope that you guys can get some encouragement or blessing from it. So Jackie's going to start with sharing her side of what happened to her, and then we'll share my side, and then we'll conclude. So Jackie.
Yes. So I have an Andrew shirt. I don't know if you guys see, because that's the school that I attended before I had my accident. And earlier last year, I would like to say it was January. Yeah, it was January. Mm-hmm. I was in my junior year, right? About to finish my degree. I'm so happy. Woohoo! Right? Yeah. I was about to finish my degree, but then I got into a car accident. At first, everything was fine. It was just chopped. We just got in a car accident.
It was just nerves. That's all that was rattled.
And in this moment, we're like, well, God is so good, We just got the accident. We're all visually fine. Nothing is wrong, visibly, of course. And, we just carried on our life as normal. We went to the hospital and everything. We did x-rays, brain scans and everything. Everything cleared out. So we proceeded to have life like normal. As the days went on, it was clear to everyone, especially Jocelyn, because she was living with me. We were roommates, that something was wrong with me. And that I was rapidly and quickly regressing mentally. And I didn't think so. So I lived my life like normal, as stubborn as can be, so to speak. And it was like maybe a week, a couple days.
It was like maybe 5 days after her accident. She had to go into the ambulance because she was showing signs of a like a brain injury. She was becoming unresponsive. She didn't know how to do basic functions, and we were all kind of panicking, like, oh my goodness, what's happening? Everything seemed so fine. And we took her in, and she had a very severe concussion, and it turned out to be very bad, and she ended up having to be pulled out of school
to take care of her mental health. And at the time, I didn't understand it. I guess because I wasn't mentally up there as of yet, right? To understand what was going on. So when I was home and everything, it was a tough time because I would like to say our family was more so alarmed or concerned, and I didn't understand why. I was going to therapy, extensive therapy for every single day, going through the basics, and I was really scared. Hello. Because I wasn't sure what this meant for me in my life. All I knew was I was in college, I was with my twin sister, and I was fine. And then one moment, I'm home, I'm under 24-hour care, right? And I'm going to therapy every day to toss a ball, say the ABCs, and count. And learn to walk, because she couldn't walk at the time too. So on my end, everything was fine. Like she said, we were going to Andrews together, we were dorming, we had never been separated, and then out of nowhere, boom, like the twin dynamic duo is gone. And I'm left alone, and I'm here kind of like, well, what happened? Everything was so fine. What are we doing? And it was a terrible feeling. I didn't know what to do, and it seems kind of, it might be over dramatic, but I kind of fell into a depression where it was like I lost my best friend, and
I had anxiety and I was afraid. I was so afraid because I'm like, oh no, she's getting worse and worse and worse. Like first she was fine after the accident. Okay, now she's walking kind of different. She's not able to have a conversation. She can't focus. Okay. And I mean, it was bad. It was bad. So I'm thinking, no, this is about to be our new normal. And every time I saw her, it was something new she couldn't do. Something that we had learned that, oh, now this is a, what is the word?
Okay, yeah, it was bad.
No, but what's the word? This is a consequence of something. And now I'm thinking, wow, like this is going to be our life forever. And I'm like, well, why would God do something like this? This is supposed to be the prime time of our lives. We're about to graduate next year. Like, what's happening? So I kind of fell into a depression, as I mentioned. And it dictated my whole life. I wasn't able to really go to classes. I slept a lot. I wasn't eating. I barely left the dorm. Like, if I only went to the dorm, it was to go to my class. So at least I went to one class that week. And it kind of hit me like, what am I doing with my life? I'm wasting my time. I'm not being a good steward of the time God has given me. So it was like, well, no matter what happens in life, you have to trust God. And if you trust God, everything else will happen and fall in order. So I said, okay, you know what? It's going to be okay. And it's not until like 3 months post her accident, she starts like,
I started
rapidly recovering. Like the doctors have projected that like how she is right now, they were saying, okay, give it 4 years of extensive therapy. She'll be back to, talking, walking, doing everything by herself. 4 years. Within 3 months of that accident, she started snapping back. And I was like, wow. It hit me that, you know what? Just because I lose faith in God and His abilities, I don't see a way or think it can happen, that doesn't mean that He's not going to do it. Because despite our fears, despite our mistrust, like not trusting Him, He's still working.
Yeah. And I would like to add to that even though it was a really, really rapid recovery, it's like 1 year and a couple months, post the accident. Mm-hmm. And I would like to say, yeah, there are still some things I'm still like dealing with, so to speak. I know I only got here this far by God's grace. But as Jocelyn was saying, it was like things were, declining. Not only was I going to therapy, but it just seemed like the longer time went on, nothing was happening. It was just new things were developing. Oh, she's having more difficulties with like basic human functions, so to speak. And it's just getting worse and worse. And that was because I really in my heart believe that it was because I wasn't trusting God, so to speak, that I was just going through life like, okay, if they say you can't do this, the doctors know best, right? Okay, let me give up. Another day of therapy, what am I going to do today? But it wasn't until like, I think a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months, I was just really sitting here and I'm like, okay, God, I know what I wanted for my life, right? I wanted to be a college graduate. I knew that I was going to graduate with my twin sister, with my baby sister, I was going to be a 22-year-old, starting my life, making real money. Like, I already had my own plans. But I said, God, listen, I grew up in the church, and I know that everything happens for a reason, even if I don't see it. Okay, so if I'm going through this, it's for a reason. And it wasn't until like, okay, God, you know what? A moment of surrender was just like, Jesus, use me where I'm at. Lord, I don't know what your plan is. I really don't see it, I really didn't see it. Like, why would He give that to me, right? Then I was just like, you know what? This is the doctor said. But guess what? It's kind of like cliche. You hear like, oh, God's the ultimate doctor. But it's real. God is the ultimate doctor. God is the doctor, He isn't like some make-believe or some fairy tale. So when I went, I wouldn't say down on my knees because I couldn't do that yet, but in my mind it was like down on my knees and really like submitting my spirit to God. I was like, God, use me and may your name's in honor. Like, may what I'm going through be for your glory, in essence. So when I had that moment with God, I went to therapy, I had a new mindset. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do today? How can I show how good my God is? Even though I didn't necessarily believe it at the time, I was like, well, God, if I'm going through this, it's to honor you. And however you see fit, like whoever you see fit, I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. So I started taking my therapy very, very seriously. I started to pray a lot. I started to go on YouTube, look up sermons and stuff. I even opened up my Bible again, right? Who? When woman's opening up the Bible, right?
Yeah.
So I started doing all of that again, and then it just started to click to where sometimes you go through things in life not only like for God to test you, but sometimes to help build like your relationship up with others too, for others to believe in God. Because when I was going through what I was going through, it really hit me that my life is not my own, right? My life is God's. And if my life is God, then why would I not trust him? And when I really started to trust in him, it was like my life did like a whole 180.
Yeah.
Quite literally. And I started to, so to speak, like reconnect with the real world again, you know? Things started to make sense to me.
So the whole objective of us sharing our testimony is that you guys can understand sometimes things don't make sense. It's confusing. Sometimes things get worse when you think they're supposed to get better. But always know, no matter how you feel towards God, about God, God is always in control, without a doubt, and he's moving so that everything at the end of the day can always come around and bring him glory. So the best way to do that is to surrender to his will, allow things to happen, and allow God to use you how you see fit, and you will save yourself a lot of heartache and pain and just confusion, you know? So that's our testimony, and we hope you guys got something from it, and thanks for watching.
And I'm sorry not to say that, but to add to this, I do also want to bring up a biblical perspective here. I'll use this for the story of Joseph. Right, this is a free man who was sold into slavery, but not only that, he was betrayed by his family. I don't know about you, but that would have broken me down as a person. In that moment, he had a decision to make. He had the decision to make to live his life as a slave and just go through life as, okay, this is my life now. Or he could have been a conqueror and believe and trust in God. And even though he didn't understand it, because no one understands that. I wouldn't understand that, right? Because I'm human. I can only see from my human perspective. But he said, God, you know what? I'm going to trust in you.
Yeah.
He did what he was supposed to do. And at the end, he had faith in God, even in the dark times. Because there were so many dark times that he experienced. And then in the end, guess what? He brought glory to God. He was able to save a whole nation.
Yeah.
So yeah. So in dark times, just trust God.
And don't let fear or anxiety control you.
Yep.
Just trust in God.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching.
Okay, bye.
Okay, how do you do it? I don't know. We're just